Hey everyone, Journey to Truth podcast here for SBA Alliance Presents. I'm Tyler Koala.
I'm Aaron Kuhn.
And you're watching our most recent interview with Rob Vinoy. If you're unfamiliar with our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and a few other platforms.
We hope you enjoy and stay tuned for more interviews that will be coming out on our channel in 2020.
Yo, you're listening to Journey to Truth podcast. It's New Year's Eve. Tonight we have on Rob Van, who according to his bio is a normal person, nothing special, and he's a full disclosure now advocate.
Wait, who is this guy again?
Yeah.
I don't even know this.
So happy Q year to everybody. Had to throw that in there. Tonight, we all know shit is getting real out there, and there's a lot going down right now. A lot of stuff to talk about. Some major stuff to look forward to in 2020, and we're gonna try and touch on as much of it as we can. Get deep into some of this stuff that we're reading about. We're going to turn it over to you, Rob. Let you give just a brief description of yourself to those who might not know, and we'll start diving deep.
Well, kind of the whole deal there is that I'm really nobody special. I'm just a member of the community. I do spend a lot of time being digitally active, if you want to call it that, digital warrior. I don't know. I don't like that, but an advocate pushing truth out, using social media as much as possible, whenever you can, plus, doing your own research. I mean, Q has woken up. Oh, it's a small number. What do they say? 10% of the U.S. population.
Yeah, but what is that actual?
Million is a small number, right? Okay, of course, sure.
I mean, that's 33 million at least people.
Exactly. If you go off of the last census numbers, 300 million plus. Pretty much that's it. I'm new to the metaphysics and the spiritual and the whole UFO community. Only about 3, maybe 4 years. In that time, I have met quite a few people, seen a few events, but I've seen a lot of background stuff because of unique situations that I fell into just socially. I ran a meetup group in Boulder, Colorado for a certain online fan group of a certain secret space program disclosure guys, let's put it that way. And currently active in supporting and helping out those endeavors in that area. A lot more of that will be, disclosed down the road. In the next couple of weeks, I would suggest that everybody really, really pay attention to those players on the internet and social media. I think you're going to see a lot of good things come out in the legal sense, or at least the beginnings of it.
Yeah, from what we understand, it's going to be a lot of big names. From some surprising information about a lot of big names within the community, even celebrities and people within ufology. The faces we're used to seeing on TV. I think radio show host. I don't know exactly who to expect, but it's going to be interesting to see what really comes forward. I'm very curious because this division has got to stop. I mean, it really does.
There's always been division, and we got to remember that. To be honest with you, to accentuate something that already exists, even if it's inflamed, is to pretend that there's a sole cause for it that just occurred and it's brand new. There's always been infighting to a certain degree. There's been cliques, as research will tell you, as a lot of legal digging has found out. There's some dark areas of ufology and metaphysics that got lost in the mainstream, kind of like the first couple, I don't know, Epstein arrests or whatever. You know, it was a little blip people knew about the naughty thing, and then it went away. Well, those people haven't stopped. There are Rockefeller connections. There's blatant, obvious Rockefeller connections. There are tactics that are being mirrored, used by these individuals in a very organized, concerted way that is easily analogous to what we would consider the normal cabal tactics. You know, what we see happening in the Q and Trump arena with the MSN battle with them and how they're going about things. It's just a mirror thing, but we'll see what's going on with that coming down the road. I probably should mention that I do have, I've got 2 YouTube channels, one under my name. The other one, I've got one video on it, and it covers a little bit of this information, false accusations that will be played out in coming weeks and months. It's The Awakening Storm is the YouTube channel. I will be putting other content up there. There's a few projects I'm going to do and a few interviews that I will be doing within the next couple months that will be published on there. So maybe this is a little bit beginning of that. I don't plan on becoming or doing a large YouTube thing, but if there's content I can create to help a full disclosure and you know, cover some light on some dark areas in the communities, absolutely I will.
Yeah, that's great. And you're always welcome to come on here too and give us an
Awesome.
update as well.
Well, I definitely want to interview you guys as well at one point.
Me
By the
too.
way, when I was done with that, I heard they're doing fireworks here locally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've been hearing some
Yeah,
here.
we got some around here too.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but what we're seeing is, I think I saw the term cyberstalking campaign. It's basically, it's a campaign against anybody who's pushing the truth, essentially.
Right.
And it's to discredit them and to out them on false accusations.
The more light you shed in an area, the more cockroaches you see running around, to use an analogy. And it just became, well, let's continue. There seems to be more and more people stepping into the arena here. We do know that publicly, and I can say this, it was already publicly spoken that, you know, somebody had offered a substantial amount of money to Unirock, the YouTuber, if he would drop his support of Corey Goode and that doxing thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. That's already been, you know, publicly stated, so I'm pretty sure we can say that. This isn't a random one-off. You know, it's a lot of effort just for a couple people that they call LARPs. You know, Corey and David and Jordan and Edge of Wonder guys and anybody associated with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I was just talking to Tyler about this earlier. I'm like, these people that they're spending almost all their time attacking people that they're claiming are liars and frauds. It's like, okay, well, there's lots of those out there. Why are you spending all of your time and all this hatred focused on this one or two or few individuals? Why? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, there's got to be a reason you're focusing only on specific people and you're just violently attacking them and spending all this energy on it. Like, it's like, why? It doesn't make any sense.
It's like they wake up in the morning and the first thing that pops into their head is like, I hate Corey.
I hate Corey. I gotta go online and start. Yeah, I gotta make a YouTube video.
And for lunch, I'm gonna run down David Wilcock on social media.
Yeah.
Easy, man.
I gotta go comment Blue Chicken Cult on every YouTube video I can find.
Well, you know, I'll make a comment on that, and I'll borrow it from the Q team. These people are stupid. I mean, bottom line, you exhibit that exaggerated behavior and actions over a period of time.
Yeah.
You're delusional if you think that that's not, you know, punishable by criminal act, you know. And I highly suspect that what ran away in certain individuals' minds, like, I don't know, if I were a lousy lawyer from New Jersey, tunnel vision, civil case. I will agitate him into a civil case. There's many videos. There's tons of evidence of them talking about their tactics openly and not afraid to. Well, in the course of trying to goad Corey into a civil case, they committed crimes. This isn't a disagreement with somebody. If you disagree with somebody, you may have a few words. You might go for a short period of time because maybe you have human emotions. We all get that. But to say it should go longer than maybe a week or so or 2 weeks, but this is years. This is 4 or 5 years. And adding new members to the team to be your front attackers does not hide you when you're still orchestrating it and you started the attacks from the beginning. Remember, they tried to have his kids taken away. You don't mess with somebody's kids, man.
Yeah.
No.
Calling child protective services, claiming that he's a cult and dangerous to them. Who does that?
When you go into that, you're
Mm.
far beyond a disagreement or even a normal attack.
Well, like you said, people could be getting paid to do that because that's just not something you do normally.
That's crazy.
What has he ever done that would make somebody really want to do that unless they're getting paid? Because I don't see how you can justify it any other way.
Exactly.
No. Well, short version, and you can check it out on my YouTube video, The Awakening Storm, that I have in there. There's a story of certain individuals that were followers of Corey and David and Jordan and all this and that. And the moment there was a split away from a certain media company online, anyone who still supported Corey, would just attacked. It's there's money involved. I mean, if you lose your job at that company because there were complaints about how you treated people, and you hold Corey and David directly responsible for that, that's one thing. When Corey and David left that company, their stocks and everybody knows the numbers. Majority of folks who go there regularly and signed up went there to see Corey and David's information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. So
that's
when they leave,
that's why I signed up for Gaia.
Right?
And Tyler too.
Yeah.
It's the whole reason I signed up. But what does that do to them financially when it comes to stocks, and investment price and projective? And gosh, you can just go online and do the history and research and see it damaged them a lot, And what if certain individuals who did get fired, what if they owned a lot of stock? There's a lot of insider trading there from what I've been told. So their money has a big role to play. People forget that it's very odd and convenient that one of the 6 board of directors that run that company is an ex-Marvel Studios executive. And it was really funny that after Corey left, that there was a Marvel Studios lawsuit against his use of Return of the Guardians.
Yeah, which is
what
ridiculous.
A coincidence.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of a taste of what a lot of people, you're just not going to know. It's not out there for you to know. So there's a lot of people who still hold a grudge, who still don't know, still on the fence. When everything comes out, you're going to change the minds. I mean, it doesn't, put it this way. Even if you don't have to believe Corey or David's information. Is this behavior, is this type of control structure what you want to have running in the background?
Exactly.
This is the equivalent of what the MSN media, the 6 corporations who control the global media, have done.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same formula and playbook that they're doing to the metaphysics and UFO communities with the big events and venues. They've been creeping into there and asserting their people and blacklisting individuals and spreading backroom lies amongst different famous names. They basically tell them that you're going to be the tip of the spear on the real disclosure, because we've got connections in the government. these people don't know anything. It's pretty much what's been happening.
Yeah.
Well, like you said earlier, the Rockefeller name, like we know about the Rockefeller Initiative, and two big names that come to mind in the ufology or UFO community is Lyndon Moulton Howe and Stephen Greer.
Yeah.
Those are two big ones. Now,
Huge.
there's obviously Hillary,
Podesta is connected to that. Yeah.
So
right. They're all connected.
There is, once you look into the Rockefeller Initiative and see who is on that list, that tells you right there. To me, any one of those people have the ability to be controlled and are being controlled.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, yeah, I totally agree on that. And I mean that jumps into the Stars Academy.
Sure.
Yeah.
DeLong. Yeah, there's a lot of mystery about certain things, but one thing I've noticed, and I hate to throw politics in there, the majority of the folks that are doing all of this kind of stuff, that are following the Hillary, Podesta, Clinton stuff in ufology especially, they can't stand Trump. They have never believed in Q.
Yeah.
Right up until Q had been out for a year and a half, and then a few of them started to try to infiltrate or try to commandeer, like Alex Jones, commandeer InfoWars, right? Basically.
Oh, Q was right.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to back into it. Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a certain Jay-Z Knight, Ramtha.
Oh yeah.
Her one of her books was Q referenced, trip code referenced. She attempted to take it over, Shady Groove in the Matrix, tried to take over and attack Jordan. I mean, if you follow the connections from there, well, you've got Rainier and Nixon. How does that connect? Well, that Vincent guy, who was a big witness in the Nixon trials against Rainier, there was a lot of talk about him working on a cure for Satanism, psychology, like a treatment. And he had previously been a member of the Ramtha cult in Yelm, Washington, Jay-Z Knight's Ramtha, whatever it is. He left them to join Nixon. Oh, there's no connection.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you start digging into that realm, Q says, no, I won't say that one. I won't say that one. That one's not safe.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on, and when you get the legal beagles in on it, it's no longer a civil court game run by a over egotistical Jersey lawyer. It becomes something different, or angry ex-producers from a media company with an agenda and a well, anyway, I'll be quiet. We should probably change the subject on that.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. It just, in a nutshell, it goes way deeper than anybody probably realizes. And even people within the community, even us, like I think at some level, all of us are going to be shocked when we see what really comes out. That's just a feeling I'm getting. So just keep your eyes open, be ready. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've just kind of been expecting, I know I'll be shocked, but at the same time, I'm expecting any big names to be outed, and like anyone that's a mainstream figure, it's possible, so I'm trying to prepare for the worst in that regard.
Well, Aaron, you bring up a very valid point. I mean, the amount of named figures in this community is very small. And we always knew, and people have always known, that infiltration existed. You got Richard Doty, OSI Air Force guy, whatever, that dude.
Yeah.
And even, Corey was warned that there was infiltration heavier than what we would expect. Well, if you take those facts and you mesh it up against the actual number of people that have big names,
it's a pretty good chance that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to disappoint you. But remember, it's, if the evidence shows it legally, it's not your fault. It's not somebody else's fault for bringing the light on. Everybody got tricked, and maybe these people are tools. We don't know what levers were pulled before Q and the Alliance were able to clean up a lot of the big background support that would allow these people just to start offing people or disappearing people.
Great point.
When the guys came out, it was probably part of it probably wasn't the first stage of what the Alliance had already been doing and getting into place, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, that's a very valid point. Very good point. It's just, like you said, any name, just be prepared. Anybody.
Yeah.
You know, we could beat a dead horse all night at the end of the day.
So
Yeah,
just don't get attached to names, basically. And this is what like Jordan Sather says all the time: no false idols. You know, don't get so attached to a name. Like a lot of people do this with, actually, I'm not going to name any names, but
Yeah.
I can think of some people that a lot of people were trying to, when stuff was starting to be outed, they were like defending those people or saying it's not true just because they didn't want it to be true.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh,
you have these false idols, guys. Like, you gotta be prepared. We gotta follow the truth wherever it leads. Don't get attached to a person just because you like them or you want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Don't be blinded by love.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of people use that argument for like, you know, the Corey and David haters, and they're like the people you were talking about that are kind of leading the charge. And you know, the funny thing about that is like, there's a difference between finding the truth on something or someone and getting caught up in an emotional triggering like movement like you see with Corey and David, where these people, it's almost like they're taking out whatever they have going on inside.
Unhealed traumas.
Yeah, exactly. And they're projecting it all as like hating Corey and David. You know, that's exactly what it looks like to me, because it's just crazy. Otherwise, there's no reason why there'd be such intense hatred and attacks on these people, whether you agree with them or think they're frauds or not. Like, there's plenty of other people you could be attacking. Why are you focusing it all on these specific people?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, these people are stirring it all up and they're putting out all these they use like this propaganda, like you were saying. They operate much like the mainstream media, where they put out all this propaganda that's meant to emotionally trigger people, and then people get all caught up in it and they start parroting the same words and phrases over and over, like blue chicken cult and like whatever else they're using. And it's obvious to me they're just regurgitating the same things rather than like, hey, I did my own research and now I'm presenting it. It's like this robotic parroting over and over, you know?
You know, the way I look at it is, here's my advice to any of them. When hate becomes your hobby, I think you need to take a time out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you need to rethink your life.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no, the thing is, nobody cares if they agree or disagree. And if you're new and you haven't expressed that you disagree and why to somebody, I get that. But if you're continually hunting people down, looking for reasons and people to express this to, that's not healthy.
I was telling him, I said, it's if those people would put all that energy into like exposing the deep state, like man,
it would be amazing if they would put that energy into something positive, like that, or anything positive. I mean, holy crap! That would be.
How about let's focus on the one thing. And I this was part of a big study many years ago. You know, psychology, sociology, all this and that. How do you find common ground? The one thing, there's many ways of finding common ground, but there's one surefire way to find common ground, regardless of race, creed, religion, age, you name it.
Music.
Pedophilia.
Oh.
Little kids. And the ones who right there's your defining line. There's your common ground for every human on this planet. If we start agreeing by this one thing and eradicate one thing first, then we can move on to the next thing.
Yeah, like we can all agree that that is not a good thing and needs to end. Yeah,
Sure.
But
absolutely.
it's true. You know, dark humor, but
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
You're right.
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
You're right. Did you, speaking of, did you guys either see that Pope video where he's in a crowd walking and some lady reaches out to grab his hand and like say something, and he literally takes her hand and he smacks it.
I did see
He
that.
smacks it twice and rips away from her, and he just looks so pissed off.
This like hatred.
Yeah, hatred. And I was thinking, I was like, what an evil asshole.
And this is supposed to be this holy man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, you're not supposed to touch the top reptilian guys.
Yeah.
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 But
The
he totally lost control and just,
That's crazy.
you can see in his eyes it's just the evil. I'm sorry, anybody who's religious out there who still thinks the Pope is a good person.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. You're gonna
Sorry
be
to burst your
sadly-
bubble.
Yeah.
No.
He's not.
I remember one of his big points when he got put into his current position was all of his great work that he did in the favelas in South America. And that's where he stayed in the roughest and was in basically his people were, that man had access to how many kids
Yeah.
in the favelas? You know, it just, once you awake and you look at the situation, you're like, oh, that was so saintly looking back then.
Yeah.
Oh, holy cow. No, that was the fox in the hen house. Oh, no.
Mhm.
Right?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, you can clearly see what's really going on with everything. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to shift gears a little bit and ask you, because I don't actually know. So about these Tesla documents that were released, are they current? When was the actual release date? What's going on with them?
Apparently it was 2016 when that was actually released.
Okay.
Was it the FBI's website?
Yeah.
Right.
But it just recently came
Started
to the surface.
circulating on social media recently.
I don't think that was by accident. I think somebody within the alliance.
Very well.
I think that's a feeling I get. They put that out there because they want people to see and get used to this stuff, getting their ducks in a row for secret space program purposes. Just like the operable patent that we were talking about. I think that we're going to see some big stuff. And so it isn't a new document, or obviously not new, but 2016 is when it was released.
Yeah, it's like it seems like the alliance is really trying to prep people for the technology release. And you're right, I agree with that. I think that's probably what that was. And then with the Salvatore Pais, the patent release,
The savior
of our, his name means savior nations, the savior.
I know, how crazy is that, right?
Like that's not a coincidence. I'm sorry.
What are your thoughts on that, Rob?
You know, to have one little oddity in a scenario like that, you know, let's say the guy's name turns out to be that. That's one thing. But to have all these other oddities, like nobody's ever found anything else about the guy, you know, one photo may or may not be him.
Yeah.
And one person puts out 3 patents.
That is all world
Goode.
changing, revolutionary.
Yeah, right.
That's crazy.
I just, you know, white hats work in mysterious ways, man.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's got to be part of the looking glass. You know, that's still got me, you know, elevated about 2 inches off the ground sometimes when I think about it, you know?
Yeah. So go ahead and we know what it is, but you want to explain that or maybe in the dark about looking glass and the fact that how it ties in with Q, because that's a pretty profound story, really.
It is, and I haven't done all the research there is on it. I've maybe done 20%, so I can give a glaze over understanding. Project Looking Glass was a back-engineered device, back-engineered from a control chair of one of the flying saucer type spaceships, the anti-gravity ships. part of its propulsion has to do with opening up space-time and to make the ship travel, what have you, in certain ways. Well, with using just the control chair and some of the technology that we use to interface and playing around during the back engineering, they found that they could like open almost like a television window in the air, and they could look through time forward or backward depending upon the individual using the chair and what they were focusing on, kind of almost like remote viewing techniques and such like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did hear that, and I don't know how true it is, that something about there was also a gold cube that another group was given or whatever that existed out there.
Yellow cube. Yeah.
A yellow cube. But as far as Looking Glass, if you could imagine, also that at a certain point it was no longer usable by most people because of whatever was happening in the timeline around 2012.
Okay.
My interpretation of the Q drops is that they were letting the world public and the animator cabal know one of two or three things. It's turned back on and you don't know it, and we do, and we did. Or you didn't know we have this and we do, and we both know it works, so this is how we're countering you. Or they could say, this is what we have, and we found a way around your 2012 thing a long time ago, and it's too late. It's an end game for you. Otherwise, they would never disclose that they're using this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think tactically.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
If that doesn't tell you that the Alliance is shouting out to the cabal, drop it. The house is surrounded, man. It's already on fire, for God's sakes. So, that's just my interpretation.
I heard that, and this is just what I've heard, so it may or may not be true, but it makes sense that Hillary used that looking glass to see, and she saw herself win the election in 2016 and become president, and that's why, and that explains, because when you look at her behavior,
she knew
during that year she wasn't campaigning that hard, and she was very confident. She seemed very, very sure she was going to win.
And every mainstream news media outlet, celebrities, everybody was like, mark my words.
100% she's going to win. Trump has zero. Literally, they were like putting out statistics of chance, and some of them were literally saying 100% chance she's going to win. Or it was the lowest, 98%.
But I think
all the way up to the very end until Trump won.
I think, they were like, mark my words, Trump will not become president. But I think you're wrong in one aspect. I think she saw that within the yellow cube, not Looking Glass.
Okay, it was one of the two.
Yeah, because the yellow cube is...
That actually makes more sense.
It's apparently that technology is more biased.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Your own
thoughts can control the outcome.
Skews the outcome. So because she wanted to win so bad, that probably skewed it to where she was seeing that timeline. And so she thought that was just going to play out, and probably the whole deep state thought the same thing, and they were all confident, like Q said all the time. Q would say they never thought she would lose, or they never expected her to lose, or whatever.
Here's something I've always kind of wondered thinking about this. Certain people, David Wilcock is one of them, that has said, and Law of One has said the same thing. Source, the universe, whatever, reality is skewed towards the good.
Yeah.
And I just have to think that, sure, there's ability to travel in time and all this and that, but to be able to view in time, perhaps for certain individuals, if you don't have other people's best intent in mind, if you have a service to self mentality using that technology, maybe the God consciousness says, okay, we're going to let you play that out for a while, but you're like a 5-year-old. At the end of the day, you're going to have to go to bed anyway.
Yeah.
And so they just allow them to run with their own imagination, and it loses the probable validity of the probable future outcomes if you fully concentrate on a service to self thought.
Yeah.
If you have Alliance members really scared because they know how bad this whole scenario is, you can bet that a lot of them are going to have a certain mentality of what's the best thing for everybody in humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be where and why the alliance teams using that technology may be getting a little help from, you know, the God conscious source, because they're using service to self thoughts. They're thinking about the good of everyone.
Service to others, yeah.
Perhaps. I don't know, just a theory on that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Who was it that one whistleblower that was it Bill Wood is his name? That video that was going around recently
on Project Camelot.
Project Camelot.
Yeah, Bill Wood.
Yeah. And he was talking about Looking Glass, and he said he would talk about two timelines, and he said timeline one was the good timeline that I believe we're on now.
The ascension
timeline, the ascension of, and he literally said that, the ascension of humanity. But they would call it timeline one, and they would call timeline two the timeline that the cabal is always trying to steer towards,
the apocalyptic,
which is the apocalypse. Yeah, the doomsday chaos.
Yeah.
But that they use all that chaos to play out their agenda and to control humanity and steer it in their direction, the direction they want to go. But he said everything they do, they're trying to steer us to timeline two. But he said no matter what they would do, every single time, it would never work, and we'd always go back onto timeline one, no matter what they did. He said they just could never get it to work, and they're like frustrated by it and everything.
Yeah. It's inevitable. That's why this ascension is happening, and nobody can run from it.
It's because it's inevitable. Yeah.
And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to, like we said 1,000 times, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But
yeah. It's almost a shame, you know. Poor cabal can't get a break, man. You know, no doomsday. Oh, and thank you for bringing this up. I want to cover something here that we've probably all seen out there. There are some names out there, you know, like John Here to Help. And, you know, his information, I'm still, you know, I'm on the fence.
Same.
But I have to look at anybody with a doomsday scenario that delivers something in a fear porn manner.
Yeah.
Even if they totally believe it and portions of it may be true and maybe they're being manipulated, that's fine. But I think people really need to step back and look at this whole fact of what we were just talking about. Let's put some real life perspective on it. If they wanted a mass killing, and they do, and it's overdue, it is, they're really scared. They would love one right now. You want to talk about the biggest false flag? Oops, sorry. Whatever you want to call them.
yeah.
Look, they don't need spooky, scary, note on those terms, technology to wipe you out.
Yeah.
They can throw a rock from space.
Mm-hmm.
Kinetic energy alone. We have kinetic rod satellites up there, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just from this perspective, what about the nuclear bombs?
You know what?
What about, there's so many ways that they could take us all out. If they could take us out,
they would have done it a long time ago. And when I listened to that guy's interview, I felt the same way. I'm like, I'm not doubting the truth. I think he probably did come across that technology. It probably does exist. I don't believe it will ever work because, like you said, they've been trying to do similar things for forever, basically, for a long, long time. They've been trying to start World War III for how long? Ever since World War II. Trying to start nuclear war ever since we've had nuclear technology. They've been trying everything to wipe out at least 95% of us, that whole agenda. So I just don't believe they're being allowed to do that. And if that is a real thing, I don't believe they'll ever be allowed. I believe there are higher powers involved and higher beings that are guarding, if nothing else, against them ever being allowed to do anything like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we see all the nuclear bombs and nuclear weapons just being
shut down. Yeah, if they can do that, they can shut down that technology.
And that's old news,
Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of technology, the reason I brought up this Tesla stuff earlier is because I wanted to get into some of the stuff that it said about, man, there was a piece of technology that they were talking about within it, and now I'm drawing a blank. But that we did hear about him being from Venus, which I thought
Tesla?
was, yeah, being from Venus.
In the is that the FBI?
Yeah, in the FBI
document?
document.
Yeah, they literally say he was brought here from Venus.
And then adopted by Earth parents.
Yeah, it's literally in there.
Did you look at any of those documents, Rob?
I did, but not completely yet. I haven't had the time. I've been way too busy, but I've been wanting to. I did read a little blurb. I think it was Jordan that said that there was some interesting info, but nothing of great import. I want to see what Trump's uncle took. That's what I'm talking about. And I don't think the FBI's got that.
Well, I think some of those documents were they not in the safe? Some of those documents, allegedly, that were released.
I don't remember. Was that in the FBI file on that?
I don't know. Apparently, there was two truckloads of stuff they took. So, I mean, obviously, that's not all in the file. But
right, I still have to check it out. I'll be honest with you. That's something I am going to do. I've got it written down. Maybe this weekend when I get some time.
Did you see that Ice-T the tweet?
That's so amazing.
The Ice-T retweet.
Oh, Ice-T tweet?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so great.
But what's funny is that he acted like he knew what it was, but he didn't remove it. And he told anybody who doesn't like it, they can unfollow him.
And he told that one guy to eat a dick.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and it's obvious, you know, regardless of what his real opinion is, it's refreshing to have somebody of a stature like that, you know, really point out how too serious people are about stuff.
Yeah.
This is that hyper sensitized end result of all the hyper media drama that we have been fed.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a couple generations where they're never taught emotional resilience.
Yeah.
Not everybody can win. You know, I mean, it's nice to have an open heart and to look to heal all soothing pains. But it's a wise, elevated consciousness and thought process that says, I learned a lot from pain, and I would not learn certain things if I hadn't made those mistakes. This is part of what life is about while we're here. Recreating a perfect utopia is not going to allow you to learn anything. It's going to allow you to skate through this existence only. And if you go too far with it, it's going to make you unable to deal with the normal factors that happen in life. I'll get off my soapbox.
That was beautiful. That was awesome.
Right.
Yeah, it is. And with that tweet, what's interesting is that so many people were like, bro, take this down right now.
They were
like, get rid of
it. They were like telling him to take it down.
Like, but
it's like
because Tiffany Fitzhenry put it perfectly. This is what it looks like when a Hollywood slave or whatever,
right,
in somebody in the industry speaks something off message, meaning that this isn't part of the plan. This isn't what we're paying you for.
Yeah.
And look how many people flipped out. It's trending worldwide, and it's becoming a huge thing. They shoot themselves in the foot so much they don't realize it. If they just left it alone, nobody probably would even.
They don't realize they're actually red pilling, so to speak, a whole bunch of people. You know, like, you guys do realize this is what you're doing is actually backfiring on your intended.
Well, they don't. There is no.
There is no thought. You're right. It's just all reactionary. That's all it is, and it's all based on.
When you're at a low vibration,
programming.
you can't take the time to process.
Exactly.
You just react.
But it's so funny because it's having the complete opposite effect that they would like it to have.
Yeah.
That they think them attacking Ice-T or like saying all those things are going to make people turned off. Well, no, it's just going to make people be like, why is there so much hatred against this thing. Let me check this out and see what it's about. And then now you're going to have people who never would have even come across it before looking into it. And it's the same when whenever the mainstream media went on their Q tirade.
Oh man.
For a while, and it's like they're actually doing a service to this movement by putting it out there so much, and now people are going to start checking it out. That would never have seen it.
You know, the deep state cabal, and they're aware of this, but they can't stop now. You know, there's an old, what do you call it, parable or children's story that we always use, the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
They have been crying wolf using social engineering and lies and hatred for so long. It's not sustainable.
Not working anymore.
It gets to a point where it's the human brain picks up patterns and it gets tired of listening to static. And having something over and over and over and over and over, it loses its outrage. And they're like, oh, again, just like all the mass shootings have done to the awoke crowd. It's like, oh no. God damn you, killing our people. And that's where we've come. We've stopped reacting to the boy who's crying wolf cries with emotion and started sitting back and going, you know, I'm not jumping at it, but now that I'm not jumping at it, you really sound stupid. And why are you just going on and on and on, repeating the same thing? What's going on here? And it starts that process. A calm mind, and this is from POW training, all this and that. Any psychology, any trauma healing psychology tell you the same thing. An agitated mind, think of if you have an older brother who ever sat on your chest and hit you with your own hand and said, why are you hitting yourself? It was forcing you to answer questions. I mean, this is also interrogation techniques. The more you can frazzle someone's brain by keeping them either mentally stressed, biologically stressed, sleep condition stressed. Well, what you're doing with social engineering is you're constantly making people stressed. And when they're stressed, they can't think clearly. They're only thinking with the emotional portions of their brain. It starts to erode your rational, calm thinking portions of your logic regions. Mm-hmm. It's a simple physiology like that. It can be more complex, but for this discussion, it's that simple. So when your brother sat on you and was hitting you like that, you in that state are where the deep state wants to put you. And that's why Trump derangement syndrome is their biggest tool. Mm-hmm. It's going to backfire on them, but as long as people are in the deranged state, they could hear the clearest evidence. Oh, I don't know, maybe a transcript from Ukraine and still not believe it.
Yeah.
It equals that. That's what the actual conditioning is. So
exactly,
to stay calm.
And they don't, like you said, you can show them clear evidence. I had a discussion with an old friend the other night, and he was talking about the Space Force. I was like, yeah, it'd be cool to enroll, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, but if you did, it'd be like 10 years before you ever made it to space anyway. We don't have that technology. I said, no. I said, you don't think we do? Boy. He goes, no way. I said, the Navy literally has a patent out right now. It's operable. And I started going into all these details. And he's like, yeah. He goes, I know your underground websites say all that stuff. But, Rob, we lost you. What happened to you?
Oh, sorry. I had to get my drink.
He's like, done.
He's like, I know your underground websites say all that stuff or whatever, but I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. And
have you researched it? That's
no,
what
no, but that
you know.
It won't. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
He doesn't. There isn't a space for him to actually accept it because of whatever type of programming that.
It's like you're talking to the programming. You're not actually talking to the real person. That's the way I view it. It's like people get so stuck in the programming that they're always in that and they're not in their true natural self is really a simple way to put it. And like you said, when you're in that reactionary state all the time, like the media tries to keep you in,
oh man,
you never sink down into your natural self, living from your true natural emotions and thoughts, really, and you're not really using logic ever. You're just
No.
getting these emotional triggers and acting out of that constantly. And that's what you see with so many people, especially with the Trump stuff and Q. It's like you mention it and they immediately get this trigger reaction and start going off, and you're like, whoa, like, what if I'm right? And it's like, well, no, you're not, because blah, blah, blah. And you try to use logic and they just shut you down because their emotional reactive state prevents them from even wanting to use logic. Or they think they're programmed to think they're already right, so they don't need to even consider anything else. It's like,
well, and end times madness, who knows? And
then,
but we also have to be careful, we Trump supporters, and I see them out there as well. They get triggered by the other people, and yes, some of it is venting and psychologically can be healthy, but defending, pointing out, a little barking here and there, guilty, admit it.
Yeah, and
for the most part, it's one of two things, and then block. If this is not going to be a discussion, a year and a half ago, I said, kid gloves off. I'm no longer getting into these long, time-wasting, fruitless discussions with people who just use the same circular logic, ignore evidence. They do not debate. David Wilcock, when he was on, he was on, what's the name of that show? Fade to Black. Yeah, I can't remember. But he was on there, and the host of that show told him, you don't believe in Q, and blah, blah, blah. And David, pointed out. And
did you say that? I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, big time.
Oh wow.
It was.
Was this the last time he was on?
It was the episode after Richard Dolan came on and started that.
Yeah.
I remember that, and I was very.
The next episode that David came on. The next episode when David came on, which is not necessarily the very next one. But yeah, that whole discussion occurred. But David also pointed out in that discussion, I wish I could repeat it, but to paraphrase it, he said, no, there's a difference between arguing and a debate. You must and you have to have a debate where you don't have to accept, you have to address the other person's points in order before going forward. Otherwise, you're hijacking the narrative of the discussion, and that is not a debate. That is a verbal battle.
Exactly.
And what did he say about Q, actually? I'm curious to say what he told Jimmy about Q.
Oh, he told him that if you don't believe in Q, it's undeniable. There's so many Q proofs, and there's absolutely zero doubt.
Clearly never done your research.
Q team is real. Oh, David just was.
Yeah.
Put it this way. David keeps his knowledge straight in his head and is always focused. If there is a subject he's going to start a talk on and get engaged in a debate, you've already lost.
Yeah.
Unless it's a soft battle.
Yeah.
If you think that you've got something, or if he's not clear on something, I probably guarantee you he won't engage hardcore in a discussion. I think he would prefer to wait until he gets all his ducks in a row on a subject, which is smart, and which is what we should all do, mind you. Not that I do. I admit I'm human. I get distracted. I forget who I am, and I get, oh, you said what?
Yeah.
None of us are perfect. We all mess up from time to time, but yeah.
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that. And what's cool about some of this stuff is we listened to it so long ago, and you go back again, listen to it, just like reading a book. You always pick up something you missed the first time, and I think it's time to start doing that with a lot of this information, because some of it might seem new to us, and I'll watch an old interview. I'm like, oh man, I already knew this. I just forgot.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time. I'll be like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that, or yeah.
Well, when you fall down many rabbit holes, the amount of data points that you have to collect and assimilate in your brain starts to get a little bit big.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
there's so much out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Ben and Rob from Edge of Wonder? How many data points? Now we know David Wilcock's got years of, studying, but these guys just jumped in less than 2-3 years
Not
ago.
even 2 years ago.
And look at how much they're doing. Oh my God, the in-depth research. It's incredible.
And
Yeah.
what's interesting about that is they have to, like, so if I'm researching on my own, I get to a certain point, I'm like, okay, it's enough, whatever. But they are putting out a product, a show.
Mhm.
And so they have to go the extra mile. They have to dig deeper. They have to get to the bottom of that rabbit hole, because they can't be putting out information that, if their research isn't,
It's
they have to,
incomplete.
they have to
basically,
do their due diligence.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. And that's what people need to understand about Edge of Wonder. It's not just, people like this, give them shit because they try and make a joke out of stuff, but they're doing a lot more work than anybody really sees behind the scenes. Yeah.
They're having fun with it, and they want to keep it entertaining at the same time. But
Yeah.
you're right. A lot of people will use that as thinking they're not taking it seriously, or they don't really know what they're talking about, because look, they're just joking around.
Yeah.
It's like,
Sure.
well,
Mhm.
no, it's supposed to be an entertaining show, and they're having fun. Like, it's not a
But
bad thing.
It's also journalistic integrity. I mean, they come from that realm, that industry, and man, we are so lacking journalistic integrity in a lot of places out there. I mean,
Like all the mainstream media, gone. Doesn't
even
exist.
our science, our history, if you want to go into the established educational systems and hall of deep knowledge, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that has been hidden from us. And if you don't make it entertaining, if you don't keep your journalistic integrity, I can guarantee that if somebody contacts them and maybe finds some evidence that changes some of the information that they've given, I'll guarantee they will do the video equivalent of a retraction.
They've already done that.
They have already done
They've
that.
done that
Yeah.
a couple of times. They just on small facts. People point.
Oh yeah, on small pieces.
They'll correct themselves.
Yeah, people are like, oh, we had somebody bring something to our attention. We didn't realize it, but here's this, and we take, whatever. They just correct it.
So they wouldn't do that if they were having journalistic integrity, like you said, and trying to put out. They just want to put out the truth, and that's it. And that's proof of that right there. They wouldn't do that otherwise.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. What do you guys think about these Australia fires? You think that's a natural occurrence, or is that weaponized stuff?
I think it's weaponized, personally.
I think it's weaponized. Yeah,
people are literally like being forced to move. I mean, they're taken to. I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like the California fires, just on a even bigger scale. And essentially, it's the same thing.
And it's not getting nearly enough attention.
And it's not, especially not over here, because it's in another country. So of course, most of the Americans don't even know what's going on.
Sure.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, like yellow vests in France.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Why is this not on every mainstream? Why isn't this like the biggest news right now?
Right.
Of course it's not, because we know.
No. Let's look at Cardi B's child.
No, that's much more important. Yeah.
We've got another great French Revolution going on.
Let's talk about what Trump's
modern equivalent. Oh my God. Yeah. Nah, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
The obvious stuff. I mean, honestly, I want somebody in jail, even if it's only for 2 months, for an infraction like that. Even if it's only for 2 months, there has to be accountability. This out and out blatant fantasy media, because that's what they are. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Not journalists. They're Hollywood or television script writers. That's all they're doing at this point, and they're proving it.
There are
the stolen footage ABC used of the National Guard firing range that they tried to pass off as an attack on the Kurds.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah. They literally use that footage to
a little special note on that, because I was artillery when I was in the Army. When you see night fire like that, and the target gets hit and that big ball of fire goes like that, you're hitting cans of gas that were put into the target so that it would blow up with a big ball of fire when hit by a tracer round.
Yeah.
It's for visual effect and a little bit of entertainment.
Which is why they
Real
use
night fire, you're not going to see. Explosions have, with buildings and such like that, have more smoke and debris, and not fireballs, because it's a different type of explosive. It's not a can of gasoline. So
they clearly use that footage because it looks really bad, and they're trying to get an emotional response. Like, that's how propaganda works.
They got called out.
They don't care whether it's true or not. They just want the effect to happen.
Well, they got called out on that immediately, though.
They did.
Right,
I'm so glad that
immediately
happened. Yeah.
Just like they faked.
And they're like, "Oh, we accidentally." You didn't accidentally.
Yeah.
You don't accidentally use like that.
Well, just like they faked they Photoshop baby and put measles on it.
Yeah.
And then people were like, here's the real photo of this mother holding their baby. There's no measles.
I'm sure that was an accident also.
Yeah, that's actually happened on a number of occasions. They do that. And measles outbreak.
No integrity.
The thing is, they do this stuff all the time. That's not just a one-off thing even. They're constantly doing that kind of stuff.
Order of operations.
That just happened to be one of a big one that was, very obvious.
Any other big news or anything that you want to talk about before we start wrapping things up here?
I do want to mention that people should go to thedrive.com and go to the war zone. Search that website for Docs Show Navy Got UFO Patent Granted. And that's where you'll see the reference that David Wilcock put in his Divine Cosmos blog. It references this website, and that's the breakdown from what's his name, Sheehy, who's the Chief Technical Aeronautics Officer for the Air Force. He made the statement that the patents are operable, and that's where you can check out that information for your viewers.
Say that website again.
Hold on, let me pull it back up here. That website would be divinecosmos.com. Go to blog.
Well, I mean, yeah. I was going to say, wait now.
David's website.
Hold on, pulling it back up here. It's thedrive.com, and then search for Navy's Advanced Aerospace Tech Boss claims key UFO patent is operable.
It's crucial that we keep that gets out there, because this is huge. Look, we have this anti-gravity technology, and it works. And honestly, that's what we were going to do. We were going to do really quick before we wrapped it up. We're going to each make a prediction for 2020.
Oh,
yeah. So I think my prediction is that sometime this year we will see in the 3D reality an operable UFO or craft.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see it in the physical. It's not going to be theory. It's going to be known about. That's my prediction. Do
you think the TR?
Who owns it?
What?
Who owns it?
Who owns what?
The craft.
The Navy.
Okay.
The Space Force. Why?
Well, I was just asking because you said we see a craft, and that could be a UFO-owned craft, or were you specifically talking about our tech? We would see our tech.
Maybe it might even be something rolled out through the Space Force. Yeah. So I think that's just a prediction, obviously, but that's mine. We're going to see it physically.
I agree with that.
Aaron? Rob?
I guess I'll go next. Sure. I definitely agree with that. I think they're going to disclose exactly what those patents release. I think that looks like a TR3B. So I think they're going to basically disclose the TR3B this year. And bring it out in the open and show it. And there will be no, everyone will now know it's a real thing and we have it. And maybe some other anti-gravity craft too as well. But definitely, at least I think that. And obviously this is not running on gas, coal, or oil. So along with that other patent, that was the free energy device, they're probably going to disclose either that or
both,
or maybe not specific. They're just going to say, oh yeah, and it's running on a free energy device. Maybe I don't know how specific they're going to get with that this year, but
yeah,
I think they're going to disclose the craft. They're going to disclose that we have free energy technology, we have anti-gravity technology, and maybe some more Space Force things as well.
Yeah,
but
I think that's a good one. Yeah.
Whatever it is, I know the technology is going to start getting disclosed and maybe even released in some small way. I don't think it's gonna be a process. I'm curious to see how that's going to go and how much they're going to release at first and how long it's going to take. But I think it's going to start for sure, 100% for sure in 2020. That's my prediction.
All right. Did you write that down?
Yeah.
All right,
you to it.
You're up, and then we'll wrap things up.
There's a lot of things you could say. I'm going to say that I predict that we're going to see arrests occur in 2020.
I hope so.
And I think that we're going to definitely see a rolling connection, those arrests, touch into our community. And I will further my prediction, and I'm going to say Trump will win in 2020. I predict this.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just assume that's going to happen. So.
Oh yeah, I've seen the yellow cube. He's going.
I've seen the yellow cube. Right?
Oh no.
100% chance, guaranteed. No.
Yeah.
Don't use the yellow cube. I hear that's bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mine's black.
Yeah.
I have a black.
Let's not go
not
down
the black cube. Oh, tripping over. Don't end 1999.
1999.
2019. I'm trying to get rid of the 19 in my head, so that's what I thought. For
1999.
Yeah, exactly. What? Don't
Awesome.
end it. What? What were you gonna say?
Well, I had a Michael J. Fox Back to the Future flashback in my head when we were doing that.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. Thank you for coming on. It's been awesome.
Yeah,
It's been awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
You guys do great work, and man, keep it up. Really.
Thank you.
There's a lot of people that I've been pushing your website to. So
appreciate that.
Thank
Really
you.
do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
It means a ton.
hey, ECETI, July 2020.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Going?
Yes.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
Yeah,
gonna-
definitely.
yeah.
You guys have a good one. Peace
Anybody-
out. And
Yeah.
you need a sign off.
We do need to sign off. We don't really have a sign off. We just kind of say,
Don't put me on the spot like that.
what is it, Tyler?
Cosmic
Thank you,
Secret,
Tim.
Above Majestic, out on DVD.
Oh,
today.
Yeah, there you go.
Buy one for everybody you know and just give them away for free. It's worth the investment.
Yes. Everyone.
Well, don't forget the Ascension series. Corey Goode's Ascension series.
Correct,
Yeah.
He's putting out, things to help you raise your vibration, stuff like this. Information that he got from the Anshar and Blue Avians.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
And all the other people.
I think it'd be,
You could do something like, thanks for tuning in. Journey well on your journey to the truth.
I like it.
I think we're just
I
gonna,
think
we're gonna
that's
cut the
it.
video right there, actually, right?
We should. That'd be amazing.
Good one.
You guys rock, man.
That's a good one. Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you. You rock, man. Keep up the amazing work. Seriously.
You bet. You bet.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll see you in 2020.
See you out on the edge.
Yeah.
Of course. There's a fan.
Happy Q year.
All right, take care, guys.
Good night.
Take care, man. Good night.
Wait, did you stop recording?
We are now.
Thank you for watching the Sphere Being Alliance channel. Make sure you click on subscribe and smash the bell to make sure you're receiving all the new content from the Sphere Being Alliance YouTube channel.